Welcome to another edition of Operation Protect the White Boy. I think this is the fourth entry right here. Maybe the third or fourth official entry. I can't remember. I have to go back and look, but you'll see it in the title. And what better person to actually get into this spot than none other than Alec Baldwin. I think between him and Brett Favre, they right there almost neck and neck for who consistently gets cover and protection from lamestream media and their antics, especially if it came to a black person. But I have to give a shout out to Professor Black Truth, because if it wasn't for his moment of truth video that he did about this, I would not have known this actually was occurring. Because as he had put, and I'm just kind of vaguely saying it in so many words in his description, lamestream media was sure to remain as quiet on this as they possibly can. So if you weren't searching for Alec Baldwin in any capacity, and I would understand if you wasn't, you would not have known what you're about to hear, either from the professor or myself. So if you didn't know, Alec Baldwin already had manslaughter, I think involuntary manslaughter charges put on him for what occurred on the set of that movie that he was filming. Well, now has just come out that those involuntary manslaughters have been reduced so much that he may even not possibly face any jail time. Is anybody surprised? Remember, with the involuntary manslaughter, I believe he was facing up to or maybe around 5 years in prison for the role that he played. But with the judge, with the prosecutors, I should say, reducing these involuntary manslaughter charges, he may not face any jail time at all. This guy's, I wouldn't be surprised if they just, to me, it sounds like they're about to just let him walk all together. That's what it sounds like to me. And then they're going to try to cover this up and act like this did not happen at all. He will go back he might stay in solitude for a little bit more longer and then emerge when he thinks people aren't watching. But guess what? It still doesn't change the fact that someone died on his watch and by his hands. Same thing with George Zimmerman. Granted, he wasn't found guilty for the murder of Trayvon Martin, but it doesn't change the fact that he murdered Trayvon Martin. So that'll just be hanging over their head. It doesn't matter what a court of law says or doesn't say, or what it does or doesn't do. The fact of the matter is someone died and you're the cause of it. And you have to constantly let them know that, especially people such as Alec Baldwin, who feels that they can insert themselves into black people's affairs every chance they get to try to take the heat off of them. Because guess what? If Alec Baldwin was a black man, they would do the same thing. Look at Chris Brown. They still talk about that Rihanna incident to this day. Then they'll never let him forget it. That's why he blew up on Instagram last week. But let me go ahead and get into the article itself. Prosecutors have downgraded the involuntary manslaughter charges against Alec Baldwin significantly, reducing the possible prison time for the actor who was holding the gun that discharged on the Rust movie set, killing the film's cinematographer. Mr. Baldwin's lawyers argued this month that the Santa Fe County District Attorney had incorrectly charged the actor under a version of a New Mexico firearm law that was passed months after the fatal shooting in October 2021. If convicted under that law called a firearm enhancement, Mr. Baldwin would have received a minimum prison sentence of 5 years. Instead, he now faces a maximum of 18 months in prison, which, that's a little over like about a year and a half. But they're going to fight tooth and nail to get that reduced too. I mean, they've already made it this far. They're going to probably try to get it to where he doesn't have to do any jail time at all, if it was up to them. In a statement, Heather Brewer, a spokeswoman for the district attorney, said the prosecution had dropped the firearm enhancement to quote unquote avoid further litigious distractions by Mr. Baldwin and his attorneys. The prosecution's priority is securing justice, not securing billable hours for big city attorneys, Ms. Brewer said on Monday. The altered charges, which were filed on Friday, also apply to Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer who was responsible for weapons and ammunition on set. She loaded the gun the day of the shooting with what were supposed to be all dummies, inert cartridges used to resemble real rounds on camera. While Mr. Baldwin was drawing his revolver to prepare for a scene, the gun discharged a live round, killing the cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, and wounding the director, Joel Souza. Mr. Baldwin has asserted he was not responsible for the fatal shooting, saying he was handed a gun that he was told was cold, meaning it did not contain live rounds and was safe to handle. Lawyers for both Mr. Baldwin and Ms. Gutierrez-Reed had argued that by charging their clients under the firearm enhancement law, the prosecutors appeared to be applying a version of the law that had not been passed until 2022. The version that was on the New Mexico books when Ms. Hutchins was killed says the firearm enhancement applies when a weapon is brandished in the commission of a non-capital felony. The newer version imposes a minimum 5-year sentence if a firearm was discharged in the commission of a non-capital felony. According to the law's definition of brandish, the action must be done with intent to intimidate or injure a person. Mr. Baldwin's lawyers argued in court papers that the prosecutors had not accused the actor of that behavior in legal filings or public statements, instead alleging that the actor had been negligent on set and had repeatedly violated film safety standards, which he did not. I could go on and on and on with the article itself, but I'm going to stop right there because y'all pretty much see what direction this is going. They are basically trying to use the law said this, the law said that. So we're going to use this as our advantage to try to get our client off as much as we possibly can. And we're going to hope to use the same thing when it comes to this other person as well. Look, they just want this man to walk. That's really all it boils down to. I'm going to leave the link to Professor Black Truth's Moment of Truth about this so y'all can see what he has to say about it, just in case y'all didn't get a chance to catch it. But that's all it really is. They are trying to get him to walk away from this. You know, this is Operation Protect the White Boy in full effect on a major scale, because somebody lost their life here. It's not, I've done several of them before, and it's been some cases where people, lost their lives. Well, some haven't lost their lives. But this is a big case right here because it's involving a major Hollywood actor who's been in films and television, as far as I know, for years. And they're trying to help him bounce back. But they want to come after Will Smith for smacking Chris Rock. And from what I understand, rightfully so. But Alec Baldwin does what he did, and they're trying to salvage his career. I'll tell you this. If they manage to get this man to walk and he doesn't have to do any type of jail time, it won't be long before he pops up in another film. Trust and believe, because they tried to do the same thing with Kevin Spacey. And they did some movie, and that movie flopped hard. It was probably one of the year's biggest flops when that happened. I forgot what movie it was. That's how irrelevant it was. And then you haven't really seen him do anything on screen again, because his career is pretty much in the toilet at this point, unless he just pops up out of nowhere and they insert him somewhere. I have a feeling they're going to try to do the same thing with Alec Baldwin.